Thanks for tuning in. Today we're going to be reviewing the Hornit dB140 bike horn with Garmin style mount. As cyclists, you often have to yell at cars, pedestrians, or even other cyclists to make your presence known. Whether you're cursing at the car that cut you off at the intersection, or just letting pedestrians know you're passing on the left, a bike horn can be a much safer alternative to just your voice. The Hornit 140 is the loudest bike horn on the market with a ear-piercing 140 dB electric horn that can make sure people and cars know you're there. We have the latest version here. This is the dB140 with the Garmin style mount, which gets rid of the more antiquated cat eye style mount and makes a much more general quarter turn Garmin mount instead. You can see packaging wise, very simple. You have a little illustration of the horn, the world's loudest bike horn printed right on there. Specs and what's in the box written right here, and then a little slide out design with just a little tape holding together. So go ahead and take it out of the box and go over the specs. Retail price on this is only $34.95, so quite affordable. It's an electronic horn, and the reason it's the world's loudest is that it has 140 dB, so it's definitely very, very loud. It has two modes, so you have the 140 mode for city, and then a more cycle path friendly 121, which is still quite loud. Very compact design. This is the version 3, so it has some upgraded internal electronics, and then you have this nice Garmin quarter turn style mount directly integrated into the base. It has two AAA batteries, which is a little bit odd to see these days. Everything's rechargeable with either USB or micro USB. And you have a remote trigger, so that allows you to actually mount this in the center of your bike and then place the actual trigger closer toward your brake so you can brake and honk at the same time. So in terms of what comes in the box, you can see here we have the instruction manual all the way at the bottom. So it helps you with the installation. You get two Garmin mounts, and these are actually pretty nice mounts, especially compared to a lot of the cheaper ones you get with lower end bike lights. A hinged design and this nice rigid plastic construction with a single bolt, so that makes it a little less easy to steal compared to a quick release style. So two of them, one for a road bike and then one for a mountain bike, so different diameters. You get the AA battery, so you don't actually have to buy them separately. You get the remote trigger, and you can see this plugs directly in. It has a nice little tactile feel, a little rubber strap. Has some spacers here as well to prevent it from scratching your bike. And then additional little spacers for the mounts. And then finally, you get the bolt. And you get one for each, so that's already on there. And then this bolt will go with this mount. And of course, the horn itself, which looks a lot like a bike light. Now let's take a look at the weight of the dB140. So there's basically three configurations. You can run it by itself without the included mounts and the trigger, which comes out to 82 grams. That's with the batteries installed. Or you can do a road bike setup, which would use the road bike mount. So we'll do that with the 1-bolt hardware that you need for it. That mount is only 22 grams. And then if you were to look at the smaller diameter mountain biking version with, say, one of the smaller rubber mounts, that's about 18. So pretty light design, even though they're pretty robust plastic. Now let's go over the fit and finish of the Hornit 140 dB horn. It's actually the third iteration of this horn, and it's been around for a number of years. They've actually improved the electronics with this version and added that Garmin mount underneath. You can see visually it's very similar to the previous models. Nice streamlined body with the horn facing forward to really propagate the sound. As far as the body, it's all plastic. You have Hornit written on here. A little rubber bumper all the way around it. And then underneath it, of course, you have the Garmin mount, and that's directly built in. And the battery area is right under here with the little screwdriver. So you remove that, put the battery in. A little weird that it doesn't have rechargeable batteries, as most devices these days do. But at least with the rechargeable, with the AA batteries, it'll slowly get quieter before it dies instead of just suddenly dying. Now on the back, you also have a button. So this is the button to change the mode. I'll switch between the piercing 140 dB mode down to 120 for city path. So you can pick the right one. It's hard to tell which one you're in until you actually beep it, so it would have been nice if there was an indicator. As far as the control, use a little remote mount. So this has a rubber strap design. You just attach it anywhere, and you can see it's quite long. So you can put this in the middle of your handlebar and then mount this on your hood next to your brake levers. Or on a mountain bike, you can put it closer toward the edge. So to use it, you simply drop this into the actual bolt hole underneath it, and then you can tap this to activate the horn. Now in terms of the mounts, you get 2 of them, which is pretty nice. Usually you just get 1 with a bunch of rubber gaskets to compensate. And these are actually pretty well designed. They're hinged. So the larger one is for a 31.8 millimeter handlebar, which is something you get for road bikes. Hinge design feels really nice with the Garmin mount directly on there. And 1 bolt. They don't include any of the actual tools to install this, but you just need a screwdriver and a little Allen key. The Garmin mount is also really nice, so you don't even have to use this. You can mount this upside down on your existing out front mounts, as Garmin mounts are very common. So you can see it locks into place and very secure. It doesn't really move around. So it's really nice that they've upgraded to this, as it lets you use a lot of third-party mounts. And then when you're not using this, there's actually a cool feature on the actual mount. You can take the trigger out of the horn so it doesn't accidentally get pressed. Slide it in the little hole here to store it, so you can simply leave it there. So a nice little detail. Now let's take a listen to what the horn sounds like. There's basically 2 modes. You have a friendly mode and then the 140 dB mode. Even the friendly mode is 120 decibels, so it's still quite loud. The toggle switch is on the back, and it's not very obvious which one you're in. It's just a button and it switches between the modes. It would have been nice to have some visual indicator. So right now I'm not sure which one I'm on, so I'll just press the button. This is the low-pitched, happy, or more trail version. Sounds like a police car, like their PA system. It definitely gets people's attention, but definitely not as friendly as a nice little bell or a little ding from an electronic horn. So it would have been nice if the 120 mode was a little friendlier. If we go into the high 140 mode, you can see it sounds like a fire alarm. And it's very confusing. It's not a sound you're used to hearing on the road. And we don't really expect cars to know what you're doing. But it'll definitely get your attention, and if anything, they'll just be confused, but at least know you're there. And it's definitely very loud, so even as a rider, you're gonna wanna close your ears and definitely not use this mode too much. Now here to give you a little more real world sound, you can hear a drive-by with the horn. The first one is the lower frequency trail version. Like I said, it sounds like more like a police car. And then we'll come by again with the higher pitched version, which sounds a lot like a bird chirping from this angle. Now if you're wondering how the horn compares to an automotive horn, there's a big difference because it's an electronic horn. So compared to the car horn, you can see a lot deeper, different tones, so it's not quite the same. You definitely need that diaphragm to get that sound. That's something we saw with the loud bicycle horn. Now as far as trail riding, that 120 mode is pretty helpful. Even though it sounds a little bit odd, you can see people will turn and look. And if you catch someone off guard, they will definitely hear you if you honk at them. So it is effective, but definitely not as nice as a bell, and can be a little obtrusive if you hold it down too hard. So I definitely want to use it lightly. Now let's go over the pros and cons for the horn. What we like about it is that it has a Garmin mount. That means you can use this with a lot of third-party mounts right out of the box. It also has our remote trigger, which makes it really easy to brake and honk at the same time, since you can place them right next to each other. And at 140 dB and 120 dB in the lower mode, it's more than loud enough to attract attention. Some of the negatives for the horn is the fact that it still uses AAA batteries, which is really strange. Most devices these days have rechargeable batteries built in. And the 140 dB mode definitely sounds like a fire alarm, not really a horn sound. And it lacks a visual indicator of which mode you're in, so you have to remember which one you're in or test it first. Taking everything into account, we'd give the Hornit dB140 an 8.3 out of a 10. It's an affordable and loud horn, and now comes with the very compatible Garmin mount. Thanks for watching this review. Don't forget to like and subscribe. You can see more content from us on our website at thesweetcyclist.com, as well as follow us on Instagram at thesweetcyclist. This is the Sweet Cyclist reminding you to enjoy the ride.